Welcome to Chapter 8, Session 2. In this session, we're going to continue working with our multimedia to work with some digital video instead of audio. Let's get started. So again, with video, we do have a codec. So remember, a compressor, decompressor. And that codec that is most common is the H.264, which is the one used by YouTube and most commercial vendors. It's not royalty free. So if your video is commercial, if you are starting to make money on it, H.264 may request a license fee from you, and it'll depend. You just want to be aware that that's a thing. H.264 is not the only codec. It's just the one that's used most often. So because we use our H.264 most often, it's the one that is supported by every browser, of course, because that's the way things work. There are a couple of other codecs that you can use, the Theora, the VP8, or the VP9, which are open source, royalty-free. You can use them all you want. They just may not create the same version that a H.264 is going to use. So MPEG-4 is the H.264 extension that goes with your browser. So the MPEG-4, as long as you can do it in an MP4 or an MPEG-4, which are both kind of the same thing. That's the proprietary one that is the H.264 codec. It's based on QuickTime, which is an Apple-based thing, so that's why there's a royalty thing with it. And it usually has a file extension of an MP4 or an M4V. So the MIME type for that is going to be video/MP4. If you choose to go ahead and use an OGG, which is an open source using one of the other, the Theora codec, you can do that. And it's going to be read by Chrome or Firefox and maybe by the desktop Opera, but not the mobile, and not by Safari. So you really have to kind of pick and choose which ones you want to use. And then, of course, there's the Webm, which is another open source. So this is the different digital video codecs that you're going to be using. In our tutorial project, we are going to add a HTML5 video element with the royal wedding dancing on the ceiling scene. So in this case, it's very similar to the audio. You're going to apply your attributes to the video. So what is my source and other attributes that go along with your video tag. You can also include what we call a poster attribute, which is just what do you want the video or the screen to look like when the video is not playing. So if you don't do an autoplay, you sometimes can use like a promotional video or a promotional poster or something like that, and we call it a poster. You can apply your styles similar to your audio element to be able to do a backdrop or to be able to do any type of box shadowing or margins as well. So let's go see how we can build our video element. Now we're going to be adding our audio or our video over to our in focus side. So I'm going to go ahead and close up the listen up aside and open up the in focus. And we are going to be adding an audio element and a little paragraph just saying click the play button. So in our paragraph. And then we're going to add in our video. Again, I'm adding controls because I do want my user to be able to do that. And then add my source. I'm going to do our MP4 first because it's more likely that one's going to work. Type equals video MP4. And our second source that we're going to use is our Webm. And that's just going to give us an alternate option just in case. In addition, we're going to go ahead and add that extra little paragraph that says if this isn't working, it's because you don't have HTML5. And that is it. Now I can hit refresh. And here is my video clip. I can hit the play button. And you can watch the dance sequence with Fred Astaire dancing in his room. Now, dancing on the ceiling, or what we call the ceiling dance, is really interesting because of how it was done with videography. What they did was they actually did a fixed camera and they rotated the cage that he was in. And you're going to see here in a second, he's going to climb up on the wall. So you can imagine the camera is rotating, or the room is rotating right now, and he's not obviously dancing on the wall. Next, we're going to go ahead and modify that style. So we're going to go back to our media, and we're going to do some styles for our video. And we're simply going to add video to the other one that's already there, because we still want the same look and feel. So we've added, again, this box shadow here, made it a little bit smaller, fit in its size correctly, and it's centered with a little bit of padding. The last thing that we're going to do on the video itself is we are going to add a poster. Remember, we talked about the poster being the screen that you want it to see if it's not being played. So under my video controls, I'm going to add a poster. And that is going to be my CP Photo 2. So when I refresh now, this is the poster. It's called the Ceiling Dance, and it's just kind of a still frame from the middle of the dance. That doesn't mean that's where I am. As you can see, I'm still in the same beginning of the show. But when it was stopped or when it was refreshed, that's when the poster is going to show up. Along with most videos, you like to include some semblance of caption or subtitles, just to help people to understand if there's some text that goes along in there that you want to say. In this case, it's called a text track. So it is a track that goes along with the video at specific times and shows up on the screen. You can add your text track to add subtitles or any type of a text. So in the case we're going to do here, we have an intro and a conclusion text track that's just going to show up on the screen as we're going. We can do captions, we can separate individual chapters, we can just add descriptions, subtitles, and or metadata. So this is some stuff that we can add. And what you do is you create a text file. You can use Notepad or any other text editor to create a web video text track, or a web VTT. .vtt is what's going to end up going in there. And it follows this format. We're going to have what kind is it going to be? When is it going to go, between what seconds? And we can even add some size and positioning of that text. And then of course we can format it with our CSS. So in the example here, it's going to say once upon a time with the intro, and then it's going to say, and they lived happily ever after with the conclusion. So 14 minutes into it, it'll go ahead and play that second part. Our different cue settings, these go with the different things that we can set, are our alignment, where we've set it to middle here, or at the alignment start. Our line value, where do you want it to be, which line of the entire height of the video. So do you want it at line 0, which is up at the top, or line 100%, which is down at the bottom, or anywhere therein. You can also add some vertical cues so that they run vertically instead of horizontally. And then, of course, the size of the width of it as a percentage of the window. So these are things that you can add. In the example here, we add those text tracks after our source. So we do our video, then we do our source, then underneath our source, we're going to add those text tracks. We're now going to go ahead and create those captions for our video. So we have a captions _txt. Let's go ahead and rename it. So we have our captions VTT, and this is literally just a text file. When it pops up, it may ask you if you want an extension in Visual Studio Code. You're welcome to. But for this purposes, I just need it to be captions. So I'm going to go ahead and type in for the title, and it's going to be at 12.500 through, so dash greater than 00:04.000. So this is the format for timing, and I'm going to type in the words, the ceiling dance. Underneath that, I'm going to go ahead and add a subtitle. I'm going to copy and paste because I want to make sure I keep my format of my timing down. So I'm going to say subtitle. So this is a subtitle, not a title anymore. The text is going to be from Royal Wedding 1951. And its timing is going to be from 4,500 or 4,500 to 8 seconds. So should go from 0 or 0.5 seconds to 4 seconds. It'll say the ceiling dance. Then it'll say give a half a second break, and then it'll put a subtitle in. And then finally, at the end, we are going to do an ending. And for our ending, we are going to do it at 1 minute and 38 seconds. Until 1 minute and 44 seconds. And instead of saying the royal wedding, we are going to say, see more videos at Cinema Penguin, which is the name of the site, because we want to just add in a little bit there for our little try. Okay, so this is what our VTT should look like. We have our 3 different cues, our title, our subtitle, and our ending. They have what are the times that they start and end, and what is the text that's being there. That's it. Again, it's a text file. Now we need to actually add those to our HTML file, to our clip. So remember, tracks are going to go after the source. So here is our video source, but it's going to go before this little paragraph here. So in between the source and the paragraph. So let's add in our track. And it's a track. It is a captions. We're just going to call it dance captions. And our source for this is going to be our VTT file, CP captions. Not VTT. Finally, we're going to say default to let it know that those are the captions that are the default ones for this media player. If you had multiple captions for different purposes, you could have one be the default and then other options as well, perhaps different languages. So now, if you are running your page in a local browser, so if you just say opening your default browser, as I am doing here, this is not going to work correctly because there is a security issue with running local files without running it on a server. And you can tell if I hit my F12, see how it's got a little 1 with an error here, so I can click the error, and it's going to say unsafe attempt to load URL. File URLs are treated in unique security origins. This is because running a file directly from a direct browser, there's concerns about that. What I'm going to do to solve that is I'm going to be running it in my live server. So live server is an extension that I have installed. You can just come over to extensions and install live server. And that will allow you to do support or open with live server. If you open it in live server, it's running through a server and that doesn't give the errors. So in this case, you can see the ceiling dance and it'll go for 4 seconds. And then it says from Royal Wedding. So if I was to make this bigger or make it larger, you would see that. And then as we get to the end, remember it was at like 138. 7, see more videos at Cinema. So that's how we can view our subtitles. If you get that error where it doesn't pop up correctly, that's because you are running it with your local browser instead of running it with a server. Now with this cue text that we've done, we are going to go ahead and add in some formatting issues with it. Our original title, we want to have that on line 5%. So we want it up at the top and we want it aligned in the middle. And there are no semicolons, or there's no semicolons after things. For our subtitle, we want that also at line 5% and we want it aligned in the middle. And finally, for our ending, we want that to be on line 80% and aligned to the end. So I'm still running my server here. You can tell it's my server because it's at 127. So now you can see the ceiling dance is up at the top. It goes for its 4 seconds. That stays at the top. And then we can scroll over to 138 and you will see See more videos, if you can see it underneath the text there. Because it's down the bottom. See more videos at Cinema Penguin. If my screen were larger, that would look a little bit better because it wouldn't have the controls right on top of it. But you could do that if you wanted to maximize it or to make it full screen. The next thing we're going to do is add some styles to that Q text. So it's just in white on black, and it looks like a regular subtitle. So we are going to come over to our media.css and add in our track styles. So : Q, because it's a type of a Q. So any Qs that we want to have the background as an RGBA. And then inside of our RGBA, we're going to do a 0, 0, 0, and a 0.3. Refresh. We're going to have our color be orange. And our font is going to be 1.2 EM with a type of serif. So when I refresh over here, that text is now in orange with a background of black, and it's in a serif font with 1.2 EM. We can make that larger, smaller, whatever you want to do to make it prettier, we can do that. Next, we're going to add some styling text to our Q tags themselves. So over here, we have our ceiling dance. We can add in some markup here. So we're going to make it a C main for our ceiling dance. Make sure you close it. For our royal wedding, for our Cinema Penguin, we are going to add in italics. Because you can add some HTML here, just some markup to make it a little different. So when we have done our .main, that means now I can come back over here to my media, and I can say : Q, parenthesis, and then .main. So anything with the .main class. And I can add in a text shadow, a black, 3px, 3px, 0px. And a font that's a little bit bigger because we do want 2.5 EM and then serif for our font, for our main font. So refresh again. Mute. Now you can see we made it much bigger. And then the other ones are still the same as the way they were, down with that little smaller 1.2 EM. Even today, we are still using some of the third-party video players. So the original Flash player was an object with a specific type of shockwave flash. And you can still do that if you want to. The more common one is embedding a YouTube frame. So if you go to any YouTube site and you say you want to share, the option is there to embed, and it has a piece of code that starts with an iframe. You can go ahead and copy and paste that iframe in anywhere in an HTML page, and it will embed that YouTube video. Again, there's some options that go along with that as well. In addition, there's a couple of HTML5 video players that are commercial players that you can use. You don't have to use these players, but these players might offer you a couple of other things that basic HTML5 video players do not come with by default. So you can have them customizable, maybe the formatting, and maybe add in some other pieces of information. So they're just up there for your knowledge.